What's up, guys? This video will be a follow-up review on the FourSevens Preon P2 Gen 2 model. A couple of months ago I put up an initial impressions about this flashlight when I got it from FourSevens, and it's basically become my everyday carry light. Originally when I bought this light, it was going to be used as a travel light. Not necessarily for when I travel by plane or whatever, but let's say I was going to go into New York City. I'm living in Manhattan right now. I'm living in Long Island right now. Let's say I were to go to Manhattan or something. My old everyday carry light was a titanium cork 123A. It's a heavy light. It's not super long, but it is wider because it's a 123A cell light. And I just didn't want to really carry a lot, like have my pockets bulging out as much when I would be traveling. So that's why I got this light. But since I've gotten this light and I got a new charger for my Eneloops, it's a really nice smart charger made by Maha, and it charges AAA cells in 2 hours versus the original dumb charger, which takes like 5 to 6 hours to charge. So since I've gotten that and I got this light, I've actually carried this every day as my everyday light, and it's replaced this light. There are some things I do not like about this light. There are some quirks to it that make it kind of not the perfect everyday carry light. They don't bother me that much to where I will return this light or not carry this light. Obviously I'm not going to return it. I do like it enough to carry it. You can see a decent amount of normal pocket clip wear. But these are things that I figure most people should know before they buy this light. Just in case it would bother them and they don't just waste their money and they can spend their money on a different light. One thing that, this is a second generation light. I believe it's also a second design iteration, whereas the first Preon before the whole FourSevens rename had more of like a curved tail cap and whatnot. Both of these lights have the same problem, is that it's very easy for light to turn on. Now, this is a reverse clicky light, so you have to click it down all the way before it turns on, and then you can do momentary off, versus this, which is a forward clicky, where you have a momentary on, and then you have to click all the way down to stay permanently on, and then you have to click to go off. Generally, when this switch, it's an exposed tail cap, but when it does get pressed, when it's in your pocket, it's not a big deal because, as soon as you relieve pressure from it, so long as it doesn't go all the way down, and it's a very long travel light, it won't stay lit in your pocket. This has had the problem several times, and I've drained through several sets of batteries where, maybe, like, let's say I normally clip it onto my left side pocket against the seam, and I have my watch on, and I reach into my pocket to grab something. A lot of times this will actually like press up against the watch and turn the light on. And because the switch distance to activate it is so short, it turns on very easily, and it'll actually switch modes in your pocket. If you tap it gently, it'll switch modes, as you can see, and it'll be like on high in your pocket, and eventually you'll get that warm light feeling in your pocket, and you'll just be like, oh crap, now I have a dead flashlight because the batteries have been drained completely. So that's an issue. What I have seen in the past is that people have bought the titanium version, and there's this one guy who has a machine shop, I believe, and he will actually, like, if you have a titanium tail cap sent to him, he will mill out, he'll take off this metal cap to begin with, and then he'll actually mill it out so that you can actually reach the rubber boot inside, and that way it's a recessed tail cap and it doesn't accidentally turn on. For me, I'm not going to do that. For me, this isn't a tactical flashlight. I don't have to have it on instantly. What I do is I actually just do a quick quarter turn, so then no matter how many times I press it in my pocket, it won't turn on. And then when I need to, I'll just, whether it be on and off, I will just turn the head tight and then, go through to whatever mode I need it. If it's when I'm using something like this and I know I'm going to be going to the flashlight very often, then I'll just leave the head tightened, and then, I have easy one-hand operation of the light. Generally in the daytime, it'll be staying loose because I'm not really using my flashlight outside of nighttime. So then it's just an extra step to twist the head on and go through the modes. You can run this light without the metal tail cap, and without the metal tail cap, it will recess the switch a little bit. This will actually, in my opinion, I don't know if it's 100%, I don't think this will affect the water resistance at all, because if you actually feel this metal tail cap when it's in there, you can actually move it, you can rotate it, you can like gently like click it up and down. So obviously this isn't what's causing the tight water resistance on the rubber boot cap against the rest of the tail cap. You can see here, you can run it like this. The rubber is a little thin, so you will wear through it eventually. But because like this section isn't milled out, it is a bit recessed, and you just have to kind of use your fingertip to go through and switch it on. You're not going to be able to use like force your thumb into there. So it's definitely not going to be turning on in your pocket, but it makes it more of a hassle to use in your pocket. Another thing, and yeah, in all honesty, most of the things I don't like about this light is the tail cap design. If you were to ever remove this boot, you do want to make sure that you seat it down properly. At first, when I got this light, I removed it, you know, to try not having the metal cap on. And I actually started having issues where the light would just turn off by itself for no apparent reason. And I thought perhaps it was like a poor contact on like the head end here to the body of the light. But that actually wasn't the case. What I found was that, you know, because I'm bored a lot, you hear like that tapping. So obviously this metal tail cap is loose. But you know, I get bored and I do like to disassemble my lights and my knives on occasion. And because this is a reverse clicky switch, like I said, you can have a momentary off, right? And what I was finding was that when I took that boot off and I didn't seat it back in properly, and you know, even if I twisted this set ring in all the way, sometimes the rubber would still kind of catch a little bit, and it would cause the switch to just get pushed in very slightly, and that would turn on off your light. If you actually look inside the switch, flip it inside out, you see, you know, some people have suggested maybe like sticking a piece of paper in there and it'll give you a better contact with the switch and whatnot. I don't think it's necessary, but if you look, in order to get that water tightness, this rubber is actually wider than the threads that are cut into the tail cap. So when you put this thing back on, which is always a pain in the ass, you can't just take this set piece and screw it on, because what'll happen is it'll actually mash up the rubber tail cap a little bit unevenly, and when that happens, you'll occasionally have the problem where the light will just turn off for no apparent reason, or you'll click the switch and even though you hear it click, no light will come on, and that's because the rubber piece is actually still slightly pressing in on the switch and causing it to not turn on. So, you know, usually if you do ever take it apart, you just kind of want to get something narrow and just kind of go all around it. It's a pain in the ass. And just, and just, you know, make sure it's like set in properly. All, like the entire rubber boot is, you know, even in there. No part of the rubber is actually sticking out. I don't know if you can see here, but you can see how like it's uneven, and parts of it here and here are actually still sticking up, and that will actually cause it to mess up activation of the light for you. Because if you were to just force this set ring onto there, it would just crush the rubber down a little bit, but it won't be perfectly smooth up against the bottom of the light, of the tail switch. It's difficult to do behind the camera, so if you'll excuse me, we'll just do it off camera. So this part must be very boring. I'm actually using I'm using a watch spring bar, and it's like pressing down, like springing down every time I press down on it. Not the best thing to do, but it's like the only thing I had handy to actually push this down. Oh, man. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now if you look, I have it I don't know if you can see it. I have it relatively nice and flat and even on the bottom, and now I should have no problems. You know, oops. Oh, I forgot this. There we go. Now I should have no problems with the light not turning on, whatnot. It goes through all the functions just fine. Hard and soft presses. So yeah, things to consider. 4.7s could definitely improve on the tail cap. I don't know if they will, but it is a major complaint of mine. But I still like the light enough. You know, output is really good, especially the Gen 2 LED in there is you know, really high output, good runtime. I even went ahead and, well, it's not handy. Anyway, I also went ahead and got a single cell body for this flashlight for when I want an even smaller form factor to carry around with less weight and extra bulk for when I travel. But like I said, if you can deal with the small issues, or maybe for some might consider big issues of this light, then it's definitely a really good go-to light. It's obviously not as rock solid of a performer as like the Cork line that that I've been using, but it's a trade-off. There are other companies that do make pen style lights like this, like Streamlight I know is a popular one, but you just don't really get the performance and the functionality of the 4.7's line. I'm sure in the future though, other light manufacturers will improve. Obviously 4.7's came out mainly from Phoenix. Phoenix was one of the first companies to really put out small, high-power LED flashlights, and then, well, that's history of flashlights. Not a big deal. But yeah, generally people will improve. For the money, it's a good light if you can deal with those small problems. And hopefully if enough people complain of 4.7's, they'll improve this tail cap design, although I wouldn't hold my breath. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something about it. And I hope it helps you decide whether you want to buy this light or not. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.